don't know how well we'll do it, but we'll try to make it happen. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another complicated topic. Complicated topic. Let's just put it that way. For you folks that are viewing it on TikTok, yeah, it says what you see posted on the screen above me. It does say that. So if you're seeing that, that is, you are not misreading that. We're asking, is the so-called theory of replacement, is that something for real? I want to talk to folks, primarily those on the right. Yeah, you're seeing me on a weekend doing a live for a couple times, simply because this stuff is complicated to yours truly. I've made the solemn promise that I will never talk down to my guests. You know, the program is always will be MAGA friendly in its entirety. But I'm willing to admit, if I'm not knowledgeable on a topic, if I'm ignorant on a topic, I'm willing to be corrected, educated, regardless of what side of the aisle you may be on. So it's not that I may lean left and think that everyone on the right, particularly my beloved MAGA, are crazy or something like that. You'll never hear that here. I never talk down to my guests. I never censor. I never limit your time. But I am here to concede a point. I don't understand the theory of replacement. I want to talk to some folks, particularly on the right. Do you think this is a real issue? Do you think folks are making it up one way or another? Now I'm hearing, and I'll give you my point, and you folks feel free to correct it. Feel free to side or tell me how much you despise it, either or. But I'm hearing that it is the belief that this country and the way it was founded is being overrun, so to speak, with immigrants, thereby suggesting that they may replace those that are here. Let's say, for instance, you get a host of Hispanics, not talking about any country in particular, but just a host of folks from Hispanic states to the South of America. We've all been to California or Texas or other cities in America where all the streets have Spanish sounding names. You go places and the clerk or the employees barely can help you because they don't speak English. Is that what replacement theory is about? Because I don't know. Like I said, I am here to plead ignorant. Is this a real issue, or is this something folks are just making up? Now, I want you guys have obviously, you guys probably have heard this before. But I will cue it up because I want you to. Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Are we at risk? Let's start there. That's 2017. Are we at risk of being replaced considering the number of Jewish people on the planet? Is America at risk of being overrun by Jews? Now, I talked about immigrants. I talked about folks from Hispanic communities, Guatemala, Venezuela, Mexico, you name it. Southern countries coming into America to some degree, changing some of the fabric of how this nation is run. But are they here to actually replace the people that are here? Where is replacement theory coming from? What is the mindset behind it? That's what I want to know. Now, the box is open, certainly for folks who want to educate yours truly. Let me know, what am I missing on this? Feel free to come on, because I don't know. I'm willing to plead ignorant. I've heard this recently. Now, some folks blame Trump, and I'm not here to blame or absolve of blame. But many folks suggested it was when Trump came along that all this rhetoric started. I will submit to you, I do not remember hearing much about the theory of replacement before 2016 when Trump got elected. I never heard it. That doesn't mean it wasn't around. That doesn't mean folks weren't talking about it. But I will say on the national stage. I had never heard someone talking about replacement theory. In the comments on YouTube, Mandy's Candy says that's what they use as fear mongering. This country was built by immigrants and it never should be used politically. That they will replace anyone. It causes hate and violence, in my view. Is replacement theory, is it about hatred? Does it spark outrage in terms of, the racial balance of this country? Now, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone suggest that African Americans are going to replace anybody. Now, keep in mind, we didn't immigrate here. We were invited. Wasn't the best invitation, but we were invited. They actually wanted us to come to the country. To some degree, some folks say earn your keep. You gotta assume that when the Africans were brought here, they absolutely earned their keep. So who is replacing who? Now, once again, I'm going to play this clip to you because, like I said, I'm pleading ignorance on this. I don't know exactly what's being discussed here, but here is the one and only Tucker Carlson. Now, we know what side of the aisle Tucker Carlson tends to lean on, but he has a different take on what replacement theory, if it even is something real or what it's actually even about. But I want you to hear
literally hysterical if you use the term replacement. If you suggest the Democratic Party is trying to replace.
Hang on, I wanted to rewind that. He wouldn't let me rewind it. But Tucker Carlson has a difference of opinion on it. Like I said, I don't know. I'm pleading ignorance on it. Why are folks suggesting that people in this country are...
You've heard a lot about the great replacement theory recently. It's everywhere in the last 2 days, and we're still not sure exactly what it is. I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true.
Now, and there's some jargon, and I'm not going to, it looks like the creator of this is a leftist outfit, so I'm not even going to discuss the text that was on the screen in between Tucker Carlson's statements. But if you listen to Tucker Carlson, he had somewhat of a different type of opinion. He's suggesting that the liberals are trying to use, once again, immigrants to replace the legal voters in this country. Now, I lean left. I'm not going to hide that. But I think there are ways you can orate that to say that Tucker Carlson, what he is saying, I'm no Carlson fan, but what he is saying, there's a slight bit of truth to that, I believe. Now, I may be wrong, but I do believe that the reason the left tends to be more immigrant friendly, one of the reasons I do believe the left is more immigrant friendly than the right is they do turn into Democratic votes. I don't think Tucker Carlson is completely wrong about that. But is that what replacement theory is allegedly about? Is that all it is? Is that because he's making it sound like it's a left versus right thing? Is that all replacement theory is the Democrats trying to replace Republican voters? I think he's understating that. I'm just going to say right off the bat, I think there is more to it because once again, you just heard me playing the other video here.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
Now, that particular group is not talking about liberals replacing Republicans. And that's the same group of people, by the way. Those folks also are supporters of President Trump. They are conservatives. They are people who lean right. And they're not talking about Hispanic voters replacing Republican voters. They're talking about Jews. And that's a complete different argument than what Tucker Carlson just made, by literally to some degree the same group of people. So it shows there is more to the replacement theory than what Tucker Carlson was trying to narrow it down to. Like I said, I'm not totally disagreeing with what Carlson had to say, but there clearly is more to it because they're talking about Jews. And there is no assurity. Like, for instance, I stated, I do believe most Hispanics, once they become legal citizens, they do tend to vote more left and right. The Jewish community is different. The Jewish community is totally different. So I don't think that fits the narrative of what Tucker Carlson was trying to say. Looking on YouTube there, somebody said, how are you? Said, thanks for all the help. What it says, that's what they use fear mongering. Yeah, I don't, who would hear this and get totally frightened? I got a lot of viewers that are Caucasian. Do you hear the notion that Jews, that Hispanics are going to, I suppose, some kind of way replace people? Does that make you scared? Because get somebody saying that is a fear-mongering, a way of fear-mongering. Does that actually make you scared? I don't know. As I said always, the program is always, will be MAGA friendly. MAGA are always my preferred guest. So if you want to get in the box, let your boy know, where am I getting this wrong? What the hell does this mean? Is it being made up, or is there some legitimacy to the notion that somehow, some kind of way, people are being replaced? Here's Tucker again. Now, this is a different aspect of it. It's going to cover a variety of things. It's a quick minute or two video, but we're talking about replacement theory. I'm clueless on this, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because in regards to that abortion topic that came up, where this woman cannot have an abortion, folks are tying it into some kind of way into replacement theory. Does that make any sense? Where's all this coming from? And I'll go right to the box. Sure, I see somebody's in the box. Just a minute, but
you're being replaced, and there's nothing you can do about it. So shut up.
He said you're being replaced. There's nothing you can do about it. That's what Tucker Carlson just stated. Now, there are some clips in here.
Think about this race replacement theory that he talked about in this manifesto. There are people who are pushing this hatred on these young people.
Is it about hatred?
Indoctrinating their minds to go out and commit violence.
Replacement theory is the idea that white populations, both in North America, here in the USA, and in Europe, are being replaced by minority populations, largely through immigration.
I'll stop this and go to the box. And I just want to say this: if the replacement theory is legitimate, shouldn't all citizens be crying about this? If we're assuming that we're being replaced through immigration, shouldn't all citizens be? I mean, shouldn't the citizens of minority citizens that are already here, shouldn't they have a problem with this as well if the immigrants are taking over? I mean, it's because you look at the crowds of individuals that are complaining about this. I think this is a picture of them. I was about to put a picture of them on the screen there. And there's no minorities really in that crowd at all. It's just all white people. I mean, there's Confederate flags and looks like a bunch of neo-Nazi symbols and things like that. But why wouldn't the rest of the country be concerned of immigrants replacing everybody? I don't see why is it only one group of people? Just Peachy, good afternoon and welcome to the program. I don't get it. Peachy, good afternoon.
I do get it. Being a white woman, middle-aged, Gen Xer, what I'm seeing is they are playing on the same fears that my grandfather, who immigrated from this country, well, I had both sets of grandparents immigrate in the 1930s, and there was a Red Scare. Do you remember all that? Oh, the commies are coming to get us.
I do remember that.
The immigrants are coming to get us. This country was built on immigration. None of us are from here. Tucker Carlson is a vehicle of fear for white Christian nationalists and people who are afraid of change. They are so afraid. They don't live around Black and minority, Hispanic people. They don't live around them. They have protected themselves in these communities, and that's where their viewers are coming from. And immigration.
But what kind of change do they think the immigrants are going to do?
Oh, you hear them. I've heard them in lives. They're going to take our jobs, and I'm like, okay, all right, well. Then if they're taking your jobs or they're not allowed to come here anymore, and especially like in Florida, we've seen that. They've all come to Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, because they're doing the work that other people don't want to do. And they always have. My grandfather was a well digger, and nobody wanted to do that work. And that's how he was successful, by him and the whole
let me respond, because that is something you tend to hear from us folks on the left, that they're doing jobs that nobody else would do. But let's be clear, there are folks that have immigrated here that are teachers. I mean, there are guys who have immigrated here that are cops, they're in the military. They are doing typical American jobs too, though, aren't they?
Right, but what their argument is, they're coming to, like you said, replace us. They've been coming since this country was founded. Yeah. And what Tucker Carlson and Fox News is playing on is fear of white people, white racists. I hate to say that, but they're there. I'm a white person. I would know because I see them and I hear them with their subtle innuendos and what they say. And I stand up and tell them exactly what I think. You know what? You're racist. Wow. And you haven't faced it. And you're afraid. So they're building on the fears of people that have no interaction daily, whether social, with people who are minorities in this country. And I'll tell you what, white people are minorities, and that scares the heck out of them. We are minorities now.
What about now?
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, I love my country being diverse.
But how about
fear?
Yeah, but speaking of diversity, Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, who is a minority himself, also confirmed that replacement theory is somehow real. He is a minority, and he said it.
Consider the source, man. Consider the source. I mean, I listened to him in the debates, and he's absolutely ludicrous. And for the sake of the Republican Party or any other party, they need to get with the program and quit using fear, misinformation. And oh, look, we have this guy right here. And look, he's not white. Oh, come on.
Well, let me give you
women. I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
I remember when I had to go back to school to get a certificate. And this is a true story. And I was in my mid-20s. And I did not have the money. And there was a historically Black university that was about 20 minutes away from me. And I said, you know what? I called them and he said, oh, you're white and you're a woman? That makes you a double minority. I said, okay. So we'll give you a full scholarship. And it was the best university I ever went to. I learned more, got my certificate, worked at the school, okay? And the president of the college said to me, well, why would you pick this? I said, because I was a woman and a minority, and I needed the money. I needed the money.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I've heard that. It's interesting you say that, because I've heard that affirmative action canceling that hurt white women more than anybody else.
No, it didn't. I went for free for a year to a historically Black university. And I think I paid $200 by the time the year was over, and was able to go and get my master's degree for free if I taught because I was a teacher. If I taught in some certain rural districts that were short of teachers, and I was allowed to get my certificate. I passed my scores in the 88th percentile of the nation after attending an historically Black university, and I learned a lot. I was like, wow, because Black people come up to me and go, why are you here? And I said, well, I guess I'm the token white person, but that's okay, because I've learned so much, and they were able to increase their white enrollment, which I think was very important. But what I noticed when I was there and what I learned was the fear and the reaction from the white community. Wow. I learned.
So let me present this to you, because this is in a chat on YouTube, and I do apologize. I had to subscribe or chat only on TikTok, so you guys are free to talk. But
No, I need to subscribe. I'm bad. Go ahead.
I want to ask this question. Now, this came from Mandy on YouTube. Now, she said there are not enough white babies being born. My friend, there's not enough white babies being born, my friend, and this is what's going on. They fear they will lose power. Is this about just simply creating more white human beings?
Well, yeah, in that community, and I'm not kidding you, when I have talked to people that are white that don't understand that I'm a liberal, okay, and a Democrat on top of it, they say things to me like, but all these babies, the Hispanic community's coming over and having babies and getting automatic benefits, and the black community's having all these babies, and I'm going, where do you get your research from? Where are you getting your research from? Yeah. And they can't tell me, because actually, if you look at the stats, that's not true. It's not true. But then you turn on Fox News and they're going to tell you things like that. So those viewers are already scared. Do you understand?
Yeah.
This country has already changed, but they are living kind of like what my grandfather experienced as being a white Irish person coming to America. But because he was a new immigrant, they used the fear mongering back then. So getting back to your video, I just wanted to say, with the replacement theory and Jews will not replace us and all this, I was just like, I cannot believe we have a president at that time who would say there were good people on both sides.
Yeah, he did say that. So let me ask you this. So I brought this up before. Before I move it on. I don't remember hearing about replacement theory before 2016, before Trump. Was this really floating around?
Oh, listen, I went to Stone Mountain. I know this is a true story. It was in 1995, and I went to go visit a friend who had just gotten married right out of college. I was like, boy, this is quick. And we decided to go to Stone Mountain because I'm from Georgia.
Okay.
So we drove to Stone Mountain to visit him. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of bothered by the side of Stone Mountain, which is all these Confederate, what they would say Confederate war heroes. I was disturbed. He said, I don't know why you're disturbed. Do you know by 2020, black people will outnumber white people? And I remember my best friend from high school and someone I went to university with. I just looked at her like, are you kidding me that he's saying this to me?
Wow.
Are you kidding me? And she says, I'm sorry, I'm so embarrassed. I said, you married this? So he turned around and he said, what did you just say? And I said, well, I'm not going to say his first name, but I said, you're racist. You're racist. He said,
well, wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. If somebody simply believes that blacks will not replace, but outnumber.
This started way back. This is not a new theory.
I get all that. But what I'm asking you is this. If somebody simply believes that blacks will outnumber whites, that alone is not, it may be wrong, but it's not racist, is it?
Okay. Blacks will outnumber whites. That's fear.
I get your point.
I'm trying to rephrase your question because I'm confused.
No, I'm just saying if someone, I'll rephrase it. If someone thinks 3 or 4 years from now, there will be more black people in this country than white people, that viewpoint alone, even if it's wrong, that alone is not, that doesn't mean they hate black people. It just means they think blacks are having.
Why are they saying it? Hold up. Why are they saying it then? What does it matter? Let me tell you a statistic. Black women in this country are the most highly educated women. You know that's a fact. Look it up. Anybody in the chat. But the whole point is, why would they say that? What is the point?
Yeah.
What's their point? Why? If I walked up to you and said, hey, did you know that black people are going to be replacing us by 2024? Oh my God, it's going to be run by black people. It infers so many things. How would you feel if I said that to you?
Well, let me just clear it up by saying there's a difference between outnumber and replace. Because there could be more of me than you, and that doesn't mean I'm going to do anything negative to you. But when I start saying I'm going to replace you, that's bad for you.
Right, but just the word replace makes it sound like I'm taking your jobs, I'm taking your land, I'm taking your homes. I'm going to educate your children. I'm going. I mean, it infers. Okay, and so all we need is an inference, something like that, to play on the fears of white racist people. And if you're white and you're in this chat and you haven't looked around, and you are you one of those people that says, oh, there's too many blacks in that community, so I'm going to drive this way and go where all the white people are? Then you're lying. You're lying, because I'm white and I was born in 1965, and I still hear those conversations, and I'm a little bit more disgusted by them now, but I just go, that's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. But with that caveat, I say, what are you afraid of? And I have heard the word replace, and I'm like, so we're going to have black PhDs. We're going to have more money going to historically black universities. I mean, I start asking them, and they walk away from me.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, I do gotta move it. Yeah.
The word replacement is another word for a phrase. Let me say.
You saying fear mongering?
Another word that infers we're not going to have jobs. They're going to be teaching our children. They're going to make us woke. They're going to be teaching their history. I just hear so much more in that word replacement, which I'm going to tell you, as a white woman born in 1965 who's grown up through a lot of change, it has been the most enriching experience of my life. But you need to take a look at the American census and see who and what's making up this country.
All right, Just Peachy, I do gotta move it on. Yeah. All right, I do
love you. Okay, well, I love you. Keep doing what you do, okay, buddy?
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, and that's now, and I gotta agree with her. I don't think that, well, certainly with blacks. Now, I think it's the Hispanic population, because they're coming from so many different countries, and it's a lot easier for people of Hispanic ancestry to get into America than, say, African ancestry. You can literally walk into the country, but like what my last caller was saying, there is a difference between the word outnumber and replace. If you believe that minorities are going to outnumber whites 2024, 2028, whatever number in the future you believe that's going to happen, that doesn't necessarily mean you're racist. You may, now my last caller pointed out there, why the hell are you even bringing it up? That's a good argument to make as well. But simply saying that, this group is going to outnumber that group by a certain year, I don't think that alone is a racist statement. But when you start saying they're going to replace a certain group, now that does leave the door open for people to be scared. I mean, because if we got jobs here doing this, or I'm in this profession doing that, and you tell me somebody's going to replace me, that means they're going to take my job. And that's a reason to be concerned. So the word replace as opposed to outnumber does make a difference. Now, in fact, I don't hear many people using the word outnumber. It's mostly folks saying the word replace. So that, to some degree, I can understand why some people will say it's fear mongering, or maybe even worse. But I was playing a clip.
You've heard a lot about the great replacement theory recently. It's everywhere in the last 2 days, and we're still not sure exactly what it is. I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true.
Now, according to Tucker Carlson, replacement theory has something to do with Democrats versus, say, conservatives. But as I pointed out earlier in the video I played earlier, where you got folks yelling, Jews will replace us, the Jewish community is not primarily a liberal democratic community. It's not true coming from the Jewish community. So what Tucker Carlson is saying, even if you tend to favor things that Tucker Carlson says, even if you favor this, it doesn't cover the entire scope of why folks are saying people are being replaced. because he's making it sound like it's a liberal versus Democratic thing, and it actually obviously covers a hell of a lot more than what he just stated. Now, the reason I brought this up is because people believe women are losing abortion rights at a very draconian level. We talked earlier about a woman that could potentially die and they won't even let her terminate the kid. And folks are tying it into replacement theory, which is why I'm on here trying to figure out what the hell is it. I don't get it. I really don't. I do appreciate you being there, Just Peachy, and absolutely thanks for that subscription there, Just Peachy. It's a pleasure talking to you. Jacob Kohler says replacement refers to power. They fear losing power over blacks or other minorities. Then if that is true, that certainly is not a statement about equality or anything like that. That would be at the very least, a statement of supremacy. If what you're saying is true. If you fear losing power, not losing equality, we're equal and now you want to put me below. I don't know. Like I said, I'd have to talk to someone who has an opinion on why replacement theory is genuine. I just gave you a clip from Tucker Carlson, and I do believe his statement alone is a watered down version of it. It just doesn't cover a large portion of it. But I don't think Tucker Carlson would really want to come out and say all of the possible quiet part out loud. I don't think Tucker Carlson would really want to go too deep into it. Her ilk sold our country offshore, says Adam. I don't know who you're talking about. But I'm assuming some folks believe the liberals are selling us out to immigrants because the sheer number of them coming in under the Biden administration and the way they're being treated. President Trump has already promised to perform the largest deportation in U.S. history if he is reelected. So we already know Trump is not going to be friendly to illegal immigrants. He's going to, for the most part, if you don't come legally, you're going back. And I would hesitate to state that coming legally under President Trump is probably going to get harder as well. So they're going to tell you to come legally, but make it much harder for you to do that. I think that Trump believes there's way too many folks in the country now. And as he stated before, I think he did state when he was president, we couldn't take any more when he was I think he said America is full or something like that. I'd have to look for the clip, but I think Trump was really against letting you come here as an immigrant legally. I don't think he was a big fan of you even coming here legally during his term, but maybe I'm wrong. Looking in the comments, how come no one in here said Army beat Navy? Because that's not the subject, Jackie. Democrats want illegal immigration because they think it will endear them to the Democratic Party. Republicans just want legal immigration only, says Jolty. I agree with the first part of your statement. That came from YouTube. I do believe the Democratic Party is far more friendlier to immigrants because they believe they will turn into votes. I said that earlier. I said it numerous times. I do agree with that. The second half of the statement suggesting that the Republicans are okay with immigrants, they just want them to come here legally, I disagree with, because I don't believe the Republicans want them coming here at all. And I said that when President Trump was in office, the whole outcry was don't come here unless you come here legally, but we're going to make it much harder for you to come here even legally. So I don't believe that the just come here legally from the Democratic side is correct. Also, there are allegations. I'm going to leave it at that. There are allegations that President Trump even talked about. Why do they always have to come here from shithole countries? Meaning that doesn't refer to legally or illegally. That means I don't want you coming from this country no matter how you get here. If he said that, I'm going to give him the alleged, because there's no audio clip of him saying that there are just close members of his administration that state they heard him say it. But I'm going to give him the allegedly. But if you start talking about people coming here from shithole countries, you're not talking about them coming here legally or otherwise. You just don't want them here. So I don't totally buy into the notion that Republicans are okay with immigration. They just want you to come here legally. I think that they're not big fans of folks coming here from the southern border at all. And as my viewer on YouTube rightfully stated, they do tend to turn into Democratic votes. So I don't care if you come here legally or illegally. If most of you guys are going to vote Democrat, then we don't want you here, period. Because we tend to believe that the Democratic Party is here to destroy the country. That's how folks on the right would say. You know, you're coming here and you're destroying our country by voting for this crazy party. So if that's what you're going to do, then stay in your own homeland. So it doesn't matter whether they come here legally or not. If you think they're going to vote Democrat, you don't want them here at all. I do appreciate that, Tammy. Thank you. Good to see you on the program. And good to have you here on a Saturday. But what do you folks think? What is this great replacement theory really about? Is it legitimate? Is it about Democrats versus Republicans, as Tucker Carlson would say? Is it about Jewish people somehow replacing somebody else? Is it outright racist? What is it about, and why is it still circulating years later? Literally years later. You guys heard the chants? Here you go again. What does it even mean?
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
What are they fearing? I mean, what do they think the Jewish people are going to do? There's very few Jewish people on the planet. Certainly in America, there's not many of them. I mean, when you compare the sheer number of whites in this country to Jewish people, why is there a fear that that's considerably smaller number of people are going to replace these folks? Why would this is nothing to do with immigrants, by the way, in this case, which is why the notion that replacement theory is about letting in immigrants and then they're going to replace folks and all. The Jewish people eradicate that argument. The fact that they're yelling Jews will not replace us makes it clear that replacement theory goes beyond what's happening at the southern border. Because there is not a large portion of Jewish people coming in the country illegally at the southern border. This has nothing to do with that. Yet they are chanting the exact same thing as the people complaining about the immigrants. Is it just a simple case, as one of my viewers stated, that white people want to be in charge and they are against really anybody else getting the majority? Is it that bad? Am I just generalizing? Let me know. I don't get it. Replacement theory, it's basically white supremacists being fearful of folks. Theodore McPhail, kind of what I just was tossing around. Is it really that bad? 30 to 40% of billionaires are Hebrew. I'm guessing part of it. Yeah, but what percentage of the country is billionaires? I mean, you got regular folks walking around in khakis with tiki torches, worried about a billionaire replacing them? Really? You make $30,000 at Lowe's. Why are you thinking? Of course, that person has more power than you. I mean, billionaires? It's got to be more than that. It really has to be more than that. That they're walking around with tiki torches, worried about billionaires? No, it's got to be more than that. Zionist is a more accurate term. Well, I'm going by what the folks are yelling. They weren't yelling Zionists will replace us. And by the way, when we're talking about the Jewish community, so to speak, a lot of folks on the right are suggesting it's the liberal party with these universities and things making these awful statements in favor of Hamas. They're suggesting that it's the left that has an issue with the Jewish people. Now, when this stuff that I'm playing on the video in 2017 came out, they weren't saying that. So it's really challenging, but I don't know what replacement theory means. I don't know, and I wanted to come on here. Not a bunch of folks on this Saturday, so I don't feel like I wanted to hear from some folks on the right. I'll just make it clear. I wanted to hear from some folks on the right. You already know what I'm talking about, my beloved MAGA. I wanted to hear from folks on the right who had an explanation that could kind of defend what the hell this means. I get the folks on the left believe it's racist, believe it's fear-mongering, you name it, homophobic, anti-immigrant, but I wanted to hear from some folks who might find themselves also saying it. I wanted to hear a defense of it, and I did not get that. So there's not a lot I can do that. Now look in the comments, Lipsy Lib, I love that. Very Lipsy Lib. All right. First time I've seen you outside the vehicle. Yeah, we do have the makeshift studio that we sometimes come here and discuss things on, particularly when there's videos I want to run by you folks. So here we are today. But yeah, generally you'll see me in the vehicle. Farrakhan. What about Farrakhan there? It's Quaid. Yeah, let me know what do you think about Farrakhan. And by the way, I'm just being candid. I'm from Chicago, city of Chicago, 74th and Stony Island, for anybody who you know. And the only reason why I'm mentioning the street is because I, for 15 years or so, lived across the street from Farrakhan's headquarters. So, in fact, they used my block to organize the Million Man March back in like 95 or something, all the buses and all of that shit. So, I never was I've never been in the mosque, even though I could literally sit on my porch and throw a rock and hit it. I've never been in there. I've never been a big follower of the Nation of Islam. I did, I've read the Final Call. I've supported them, bought a few bean pies over the years, but I'm going to assume Farrakhan absolutely thinks it's racist, but in my humble opinion, Farrakhan himself is racist. So I don't know where to go with that. But look at it in the comments, Gandalf history. These people that come in will only vote Democrat because they were bribed by the Democratic Party. Bribed how? If they're seeking citizenship in America and one party is going to give it to them pretty easy, the other party is going to make it almost impossible. Is that, I guess you could consider that a bribe. Because a bribe is giving me something of value for something you want. And we know that whether you're coming here illegally or legally, just point it out, because folks on the right say that we're not against immigrants, just come here legally. Okay, fair enough. I just want to say this. If you're coming in from the southern border, particularly if you are of Hispanic descent, whether you're coming here illegally or legally, the Democratic Party is going to make your job easier. It doesn't matter which area you're coming in, because the Republican Party is also in favor of making legal immigration more difficult too. So if you want to call that a bribe, I guess technically, I want something of value, which is a U.S. green card. You want my vote. Quid pro quo, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to necessarily say that that's not totally off base. I get your point, but it is what it is. There are folks on the right who, I guess you would say, give out bribes, so to speak, as well. Looking in the comments, you see what happened when the Indians welcomed the Pilgrims. Hopefully it ain't that bad. You're telling me that if we let too many immigrants in this country, they're going to do us like the founding fathers, so to speak, did the Pilgrims and the Native Americans? You think it'll be that bad? I brought this up before because I talked about, like, in regards to replacement theory, the takes one to no one argument, the notion that if they get the upper hand on us, they're going to do us like we did them, because you're talking about, it'll be like when the Indians were nice and let the Pilgrims in, and we know what the Pilgrims ended up doing, taking their land, giving them smallpox, killing them off, and now they're all tucked away nice and neatly on reservations. But when I say takes one to know one, a thief will always be on guard from having shit stolen from them because they expect everybody else to be like them. A criminal rarely gets caught slipping because they know what they would do, so they're prepared for other people to do it to them. They're always expecting everybody else to be like them. Is that what you're suggesting when you say if we let too many people in, it'll be like the Pilgrims and the natives? Is the Pilgrims, the descendants of the Pilgrims, realize how they treated people, and they're on guard for people that might do the same to them? Takes one to know one. Do you think it's like that? I don't know. We'll go back to the box. We're talking replacement theory, asking what the hell is it? Anima, good afternoon.
How's it going, Tim?
It's going good. What do you think? Replacement theory. I mean, is that something legitimate? What do you think it's all about?
So the reason I came on, and I can give the Britannica definition if you wish, if that's up to you. I think, did you reference Mike Johnson earlier? Did I hear that?
No, I did. The speaker, no, I didn't mention anything about him.
Okay, so what I want people to understand is the high level in our government that this is now reaching. This, and I will mention real quick that the Britannica references that it as a right-wing conspiracy theory. Just to be clear. That's Britannica. So,
Okay.
So
Is Britannica written by a bunch of liberals?
probably, everything.
All right, keep going.
And that was a joke, comments. So this is the plan of our friends on this side, and I assume that's the side of the border, to turn all the, and he calls them illegals, I think that's a very derogatory term, into voters. Johnson said at a congressional hearing in May 2022, gesturing at Democrats, that's why the border's open. Now, I can look further into this if you have any comments.
No, I'm listening. Keep going.
And this is, by the way, a Washington Post article titled, actually, sorry, it's an opinion.
Okay, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does. That's a quote from Mike Johnson in May of 2022, and I can certainly look up and verify. What I'm doing is just cycling down this really quick. The important part of my message in today's live is simply that for anyone who hasn't looked up the types of ideas that Mike Johnson, our House Speaker, in case anybody didn't realize, is espousing publicly from the podium, the main podium of our Congress. I mean, it's very misogynistic. It's very racially charged. Clearly, this is an element of that. Very anti-immigrant.
Are you suggesting that the current Republican Speaker of the House himself may be racist or sexist or anti-immigrant?
I mean, you can just listen to what he says. Absolutely. I'm not suggesting it. I'm declaring it.
Wow.
Absolutely. No, and the interesting thing to me is, for people who, because there's a lot of people that go on these lives when the lives are talking about Trump and say, why aren't we talking about current events? And for me, the idea that Trump isn't a current event is just patently outrageous, because obviously frontrunner in the Republican candidacy for president in 2020.
Yeah, it's interesting you would say that. I've had folks tell me that as well. Why do you talk about Trump so much? And then you look on their profile and they're wearing Trump clothing. Like, well, you're talking about him too. You're speaking about him totally in a positive light. It's not that you don't want folks talking about, it's not that folks shouldn't be talking about Trump. What you're saying is they shouldn't be saying anything negative about him. I mean, there are people speaking positively of Trump all over social media, and they're not in there telling those folks, quit talking about him or he's not a current term. So what they're really saying is, I don't want you speaking negatively of him.
Yeah, and usually they'll reference that as, I don't want, as my president, whatever. And then they'll go into the theories about the election, the big lie and all this stuff. But, I mean, what people are neglecting completely, not only that he's the Republican frontrunner, but the fact that Trump is responsible for Mike Johnson's election. I mean, being put in as the House Speaker. There were multiple candidates that were clearly being presented by the right, and it seemed like they might be able to, and don't get me wrong, might not have been able to, but it seemed like they were likely to get the vote. And then Trump said, no, I don't like that person.
Wow. Well, we both know Trump has a lot of power. That makes sense. But I want to ask you something though. In the comments, Jan says, in regards to replacement theory and what we're discussing, exactly with an exclamation point. She says, we are losing our country right now. Is replacement theory possible? Some folks believing that we're losing our country to other groups of people.
I mean, that's an argument to be made by someone who believes, quote unquote, that we have open borders. I don't believe we have open borders. I think it's very easy to go and actually see that. But instead of listening to the people who actually monitor these things. Many people listen to somebody randomly on a TikTok video or a YouTube video, and they go, oh, well, this person says it's an open border, and look, they have a video of somebody crossing something that they're referring to as the border. So obviously it's an open border. Most people who go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that we have open borders, but I will ask this. Do you think that Biden is handling the border as well as Trump?
I don't believe that Trump handled the border well. I believe that when there is an election or a midterm, all of a sudden there's a caravan report. I believe that generally speaking, and here's the thing, like a lot of people also typically on this app, listen to somebody saying the things that I'm saying and go, oh, so you love Biden. No, I don't love Biden. I don't. Don't get me wrong. There's some things that I appreciate, the PACT Act, the CHIPS Act, the bipartisan infrastructure bill. These are things that I appreciate about what's happening.
Do you appreciate the stance Biden has on the border? You don't believe Trump handled the border well at all. Fine. But do you think Biden is doing a good job securing the southern border?
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that he sent quite a few, I want to say National Guard to the border. These are the type of actions that somebody who wanted a quote-unquote open border would not do. That's just something they wouldn't do.
But I'm asking that question. Do you think he's doing a good job on the southern border right now?
Oh, yeah, and I'm not trying to dodge it. Like I said, I mean, I don't think that Biden has it perfect, but what I do believe from my experience and listening is that when an election is pending, these sorts of accusations occur regularly, generally from the right. And if we had Trump as a president, you didn't hear that as much, did you?
Well, and I agree with that, but I will say in regards to your statement that this comes up when an election is pending. They've been complaining about Biden on the border from day one. They were talking about, how long it took Kamala Harris as the VP to even go down there and see what was going on. They've been consistent that Biden is not good on the border. They didn't wait till an election. You could go back 2 years from now when Biden first became president, and the complaints were still coming in quite fast and heavy.
So now I'm curious because Jan is saying, and yes, that's true. I agree. But however, it has escalated. I think we can both agree that the rhetoric has definitely escalated.
Okay. Well, but wait a minute. It's going to escalate when now you got even liberals. Once Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis of Florida sent all them folks up north, and now you got liberals in places like Chicago and Philadelphia and New York complaining, it's going to escalate because now liberals are also saying you got a major border problem.
Certainly. And I believe I've heard you say before about how the places that they're being sent, and don't get me wrong, like I fully understand that saying I live in a state, as I've said before, I live in Oregon. We are considered a sanctuary city, or sanctuary state. So the concept that they might say, oh, well, this is a state that refers to themselves as a sanctuary state. Well, why don't we just send as many as we can there? I get the logic behind that from that perspective. However, as you've stated, I believe as well, when you send people from a place that's warm, at least survivable for the majority of the year, to a place that's generally colder and isn't prepared as the border states should be because they're receiving federal money for
Right.
For this sort of thing. When you send them to those states, there's going to be problems, and a number that is unexpected and very quickly changed, which is what happened. I mean, it was a new strategy. I hadn't heard of that strategy. Maybe it's happened before, but I had never heard of that strategy before DeSantis sent Texans, if I'm not mistaken, the initial time. He's the one that got the Texans on the bus.
I do gotta move it on, but I will say this: it's been very effective for folks on the right. I mean, it was inhumane. I'm with you on that, to send these folks to a different part of the country where they have no knowledge of where they're at. You didn't send them it didn't even give them $50 to buy a meal. Just sent them up there blank. It's inhumane, but I will say in regards to making sure people up north realize how bad the immigration problem was in the South, it made a huge point. I mean, because like I said, now liberals are complaining about it. So it did get the point out. I'll give you the last word. I do got to move it on, though.
Yeah, thank you. Just really quick, and I haven't read this, by the way. not read this. I'm semi up on and you have introduced two concepts of great replacement. I mean, you're referring to immigrants, and you're also referring to the video that you played multiple times from white nationalists.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna read the beginning of this. Actually, sorry, I'm on Wikipedia. I do not want to read Wikipedia. No one's gonna care. I want to get back to Britannica, and I'm just gonna read the very beginning of it. So replacement theory in the United States and certain other Western countries whose populations are mostly white, a far-right conspiracy theory alleging in one of its versions, see, there you go, and there's acknowledged to be multiple versions, that left-leaning domestic or international elites, and that's a white nationalist talking point, and also, what's a term that you prefer for we can say white supremacy, correct? It's a white supremacy talking point. Just the term elites.
Okay. I hear about elites all the time. It's the Soros, it's the deep state. I hear folks on the program talking about elites all the time. But I do got to move it on, Animal. Appreciate.
No worries. Well, I was going to finish that last little bit, but no worries, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute. And how many of you folks, by way of yes or no, I know it's only a few of you folks in here today. I think TikTok is kind of keeping this one under wraps because we're using some hot button words so frequently. But I'm all about free speech. I always prefer to speak to my MAGA, but I don't think there's a lot of folks on the right in here because I do want to hear folks come on that can defend what the hell replacement theory is about. I mean, if it's legitimate, come on and state it. I'm not going to censor, limit, block, or ban you in any way. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm not going to censor or prevent you from saying how you feel. I do believe in free speech, but I'm not hearing a lot of folks come on and defend it. I see Brownsbacker. Yeah, I did correct that subscriber thing, but even still, I want to know from folks who do believe replacement theory is a legitimate problem in America, folks who can defend it. The left thinks it's racist. I get it. Everybody on the left thinks it's a white supremacist trope, thinks it's fear-mongering, thinks it's all about hate. But I want to hear from folks on the right, folks who actually believe that it's a legitimate problem. I'm not really hearing that. This does tie together the two premises you referred to. I think you should read the text of the sentence. Yeah, Anima, I would like to see it. I would like to see it. You can even direct message it to me. We'll keep it moving though. Looking in the box, Andy, like I said, I want to hear from somebody who actually subscribes to replacement theory, believes it's a legitimate problem in this country. I'd like to have somebody on. I will give you plenty of time to state your point. Not going to talk down to you, not going to limit your speech in any way. Andy, I know you're not a subscriber to replacement theory, but give me your take. What do you believe it's all about?
Well, I live in the South, so we have plenty of groups like that around. I think it's tied to anti-Semitism. That's why they keep bringing up George Soros and the Rothschilds and all that other garbage. It's all tied to anti-Semitism.
Well, folks are bringing
and
up.
They think that there's a global cabal. I wish this was a lie. I just really wish it was. That is of the richest elite that are going to run our country, and that is who they're complaining about.
Yeah, but
have I ever seen one of those? No. Have I ever gotten a George Soros check? No. And if he's handing them out, he's late.
Yeah, but we've also heard folks talking about immigrants. And those are not elites. Those are not Jewish people. Those are not rich people. You got folks.
Are you talking about immigrants or asylum seekers?
I'm trying to figure out what it.
DeSantis did was he went and picked up some asylum seekers who had court dates and dropped them off in another state where it would be impossible for them to get their court date. And to me, that's human trafficking. Just saying.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out from a standpoint of ignorance myself. I'm admitting I don't quite understand it. I want to hear from somebody who actually not only understands.
It's actually tied to the abortion issue that we talked about yesterday. We are literally the incubators because they're afraid they're going to be not the prominent race in 2050.
Who do they think is going to be the prominent race?
Minorities. They think that they think that their culture will be gone. I saw a video that I sent you that was very disturbing about how I fought for what I thought this country is. Now I want to fight for what I want it to be. Yeah.
But wait a minute. When I asked you who you think they're going to be the prominent race, you said minority. Minorities comprises basically of everything that's not white.
Right. But see, right now, in this country, see, they don't realize globally they're already the minority. I mean, that would actually take critical thinking. But, so they think that their way of life and their traditions, and that's why they're trying to push so hard for the Christian evangelical. They don't follow themselves. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. If white people become the minority, I mean, is that like that? Does that mean it's bad for white people? I mean, I'm currently a minority.
Not for me, but I mean.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Hold on, let me ask it to you this way. This is what I'm saying. I'm currently minority. I still have a nice place to live. I have a job. I have a decent income. I'm a minority. It's not destroying my life. Why would folks fear that if they become a minority, something bad is going to happen?
I think because they know the way they have behaved in the past, and they're afraid that will happen to them. Because that's what happens when you treat people badly. That's called karma.
Okay. So it is a takes one to know one. I know what I did to people, and if they get a position, they'll do the same thing to me.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. And I see on YouTube, Mandy saying power.
So
So
I told you about in Texas, the Supreme Court overturned it. They're going to make that woman carry that baby to term.
I saw that they had overturned it. Is that?
Don't tell me they're trying to save babies. I don't want to hear one Republican tell me that ever again. I will literally turn into a demon.
Well, to some degree, they're trying to save babies. It's the women they don't care about.
That baby's not viable.
No, it's not. In fact, making her carry that.
Who wins in this? See, it's the same subject. It's their replacement theory and their women's issues are all one subject.
Yeah. To me, what they're doing to this woman by making her carry a fetus that's not viable is actually punishment to the baby. I mean, if you believe a fetus or an embryo can feel and pain at I mean, you're putting this kid through hell, and knowing that at the finish line, it's death. I mean, you're putting the kid through hell by making her carry it another 7 or 8 months, knowing that it's going to just simply, it might die inside of her or it may come out dead, whatever. But
well, I mean, it's already not viable and its organs are on the outside. God forbid she accidentally has it on the toilet. She'll go to prison too.
Yeah, for what they call it, desecration
of a
statement
for today.
Yeah,
and I want to thank you for this morning.
Oh. Normally when a woman says that, I'm just waking up, but thank you.
Have a good one.
All right, you too, Andy. I appreciate it. I want to thank you for this morning. Bless your heart. All right, looking in the comments, I don't know. Yeah, that whole story out of Texas is why I'm on here talking about replacement theory, because folks are saying that that's what this is all about, is that one group is going to be replaced, so they're banning abortion so that their group can have more humans. This sounds something like straight out of 1930s Germany. Didn't Hitler have like baby making factories to create Aryan kids? I mean, it almost sounds like that, because at the end of the day, the women are not happy with this stuff. The women are pissed off that this is being done. So